Hey guys, my name is Fares Choudhury and today I'm going to talk to you guys about a certain syndrome. This syndrome is deadly, life-changing, life-threatening. This syndrome is known as Down syndrome. But before I speak about Down syndrome, let me take you on a quick tour on what DNA is. So basically, DNA is the instruction manual that all living things possess in the cells. DNA also stores the genetic information, which is eventually passed on. First of all, the DNA is located in the nucleus. Second of all, the shape of the DNA is like a twisted ladder, since it has two strands and a base in the middle connecting the strands. Speaking of the structure of DNA, people call DNA the double helix because of its two strands. The DNA molecule consists of phosphate groups and deoxyribose sugars on the sides and nitrogen bases in the middle. There are 4 nitrogen bases in a DNA molecule. Those 4 include adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. So basically, here's a diagram on what DNA is. As you can see, there's a twisted ladder shape that is clearly visible, and you can see the 2 strands. These colorful things in the middle are the bases, and this dark blue thing would be the phosphate group, while this light little blue thing would be the sugar. So basically, you can see the twisted ladder shape. Next, I'm going to talk to you guys about DNA replication. DNA replication can occur both in mitosis and meiosis, and this is how the traits are passed on from generation to generation. This is the process in which the DNA is making a copy of itself prior to mitosis or meiosis. DNA replication happens during S phase or interphase. In mitosis, you only need one strand in order to make the other strand, since the strand will be the template or the parent strand. There are 2 main enzymes that are involved in DNA replication: the helicase enzyme and the polymerase enzyme. The helicase enzyme is called the unzipper, since it unzips the strands of the DNA. The unzipped strand is known as the parent strand or template. After the strand is unzipped, the polymerase enzyme builds the new strand based on the letters in the parent strand. So basically, the polymerase is known as the builder. So basically, that's it on DNA replication. Now, let's move on to the connection between DNA, genes, and chromosomes. But before I do that, let me show you a quick diagram on how DNA replication works. As you can see, this helicase enzyme is unzipping the DNA strands. And the red strands here are single-stranded, and they're the parent strands. The blue strands are the new strands that are getting made, and the enzyme that's doing that, as I told you before, is the polymerase, which is this yellow chunk here. So this is basically how DNA replication looks like. Now, DNA is basically the code for genes. More specifically, DNA is stored in genes. And genes are segments of DNA that code for a sequence in amino acids. And genes are stored in chromosomes. So just think about it. DNA in genes, genes in chromosomes. That's how they're all connected. A good example to remember this is using a book, word, and letters. So here's a quick photo. As you can see, the DNA of a book would be the letters, the genes would be the words, and the chromosome would be the whole book. That shows the connection between the 3. Now let's move on to the proteins. Proteins are either enzymes which control chemical reactions in the body, or there's something structural, such as muscles, hair, eyes, tissue. Proteins are assembled from amino acids. The DNA code that builds the proteins using the certain amino acid sequence, which include codons. Codons are basically 3-letter sequences of DNA that code for amino acids. Then, using the amino acids, proteins can be built. The process in which the proteins are built is known as protein synthesis. Protein synthesis consists of 2 stages, transcription and translation. Transcription is basically the process in which the DNA is copied into an mRNA strand. This happens in the nucleus because the DNA, the master plan, never wants to leave the nucleus. First of all, the DNA, as I just said, is known as the master plan, and it makes the RNA copy using itself as the parent strand. The specific enzyme that builds the RNA strand is the RNA polymerase. Once this process of transcription is complete, the new RNA strand is sent to the cytoplasm into the ribosome, where it can go through the process of translation. Translation is basically when the tRNA, or the transfer RNA, assembles the protein using the amino acids. Translation occurs in the cytoplasm, and it has 3 steps of its own: initiation, elongation, and termination. Initiation is basically the start of the codon. Elongation is the actual building of the protein, while termination is the end or stop of the codon. So basically, those are the steps that occur in both in transcription and translation. Oh yeah, just to tell you, a quick reminder, the 3 main RNA that are involved in these 2 processes include the mRNA, the photocopied DNA, the tRNA, which is the builder of the protein, and the RNA polymerase, which is the builder of the messenger RNA. Here's a quick diagram on how transcription and translation work. So, as you can see, translation occurs at the cytoplasm, outside the nucleus, and transcription happens in the nucleus. You can see that the new RNA strand is getting built, and you can see here that the proteins are getting assembled by amino acids in the ribosome. So, now that we're done with all the background info, let's get to the real stuff, the Down syndrome. Down syndrome was founded by John Langdon Down around 1866. As you can see, the syndrome is named after him. Down syndrome is basically a huge mutation in which someone who has it has certain syndromes that are making their life a bit harder to live than people without the syndrome. Also, people with Down syndrome tend to have shorter lifespans, which end about 50 years old or less. The mutation mistake in Down syndrome is an insertion mistake. But just think about it. This isn't just a single code letter or amino acid. This is a whole chromosome. If an amino acid sequence is wrong, and if that's bad, then just think about a chromosome, which is so much bigger than amino acid. More specifically, an extra chromosome is present in chromosome number 21. So instead of 2 chromosomes present in chromosome number 21, there are 3. And this is a huge problem. Some external symptoms of Down syndrome include certain facial characteristics, such as and some below average height. The internal symptoms include heart defects and impaired immune systems. Also, people with Down syndrome have varying degrees of mental disability. As I stated before, their lifespan is shorter to about 50 years. Unfortunately, because of these internal symptoms, people with Down syndrome are more predisposed to heart diseases. Also, the people with Down syndrome can't really think straight and have a little mental disability, this allowing them to do certain academic activities. Also, because of their impaired immune systems, they are disallowed to do as many physical activities that people without Down syndrome can do. Down syndrome is basically passed on if one of the parents is a balanced carrier. So if one of the parents is a balanced carrier, there's a high chance that the offspring will get Down syndrome. Now, here's a karyotype on a person with Down syndrome. As you can see, there's an extra chromosome in chromosome number 21. This, again, is a huge problem. A person with the Down syndrome would basically look like this. Some facial features, and he looks quite young, but actually, he's a lot older. In fact, he's about 36 years old. But he's as short as this 17-year-old girl because he has Down syndrome. Down syndrome can happen either in cell reproduction or cell division. In cell reproduction, The mutation can be passed on using the gametes, the sperm and the egg cells, while in cell division, an extra chromosome is added into chromosome number 21. The mortality rate of Down syndrome is about 75%. So basically, 75% of people with Down syndrome die. But only 1 out of every 700 children in the US get Down syndrome. In conclusion, Down syndrome is a mutation that cannot be cured and stopped, which is a huge problem. Down syndrome is a deadly mutation in which lifespans of people shorten by a lot. Also, it gives people huge disadvantages, such as the inability of many academic and physical activities. But hopefully, we all can make the lives of people with Down syndrome happy and fulfilling. And maybe, perhaps, we can bring a smile on their face. Thank you.